Just FYI, I'm a 23-year-old woman. I live with my parents and I don't like being a burden. So while still in uni, I decided to leave ads around the city, offering help with kids' homework and private lessons. Finally, somebody called me. At that point, nobody had called, and I was desperate for some cash. And I started giving English lessons to a woman, Anne. She claimed she needed to improve her speaking, but turned out we had to start from the basics. We saw each other weekly, and more frequently after I graduated, always in the late evening from 7 to 9. That day was just like any other. We were sitting in her kitchen, she listening to an audiobook and reading, and I watching out of the window, bored out of my mind. Her apartment is on the first floor of a small complex, 4 units in total, with another complex on the left and a house under construction on the right. All the houses face a field where I usually park, and across the field there's a busy street. It's not strange seeing people pass in front of the window, since you have to go past it to get to the stairs of the complex. So I was used to seeing shadows in the window all the time. I even recognized the voices and shadows of other tenants. We were busy reading and translating. Only 15 minutes had passed. It was gonna be a long night, when someone knocked on the window. I'm extremely anxious, so I was startled. And also, I lived my whole life on a 4th floor, so the idea of a ground floor apartment is always upsetting for me. The higher the better. Something was wrong, but I thought because of my odd upside-down fear of height. My beloved student stood up and went to the window to see what's up. Across the bars of a window stood this man, thin and kind of dirty. He said that he saw a bike parked behind and wanted to know if she was selling it. She said that she was going to bring it to the junkyard since it was old and rusty, and that he was free to take it for free. He insisted that he gave her 10 euros, and she refused. He upped the offer to 20 euros. A tip for the nice girl's lesson. Said as he stared at me, and refused again. Told him to take the bike and go away. Then she closed the window. I was quite creeped out, but we went back to work. A few minutes later, there came another knock. Now pissed, Anne opened the window to tell the guy to kindly fuck off. But they were her upstairs neighbors. They told her that some guy was walking down that street and that he had her bike. She explained the situation and they left. Nothing happened for the next hour. We finished our lesson, and I was sent my way with my money. I was walking a few meters to my car, digging in my purse for the lighter and a cig. As I lit up, a man walked out from the house under construction and started to chat. He asked for a cig, but I told him not since I was running out. "I'd really like a cigarette, please," he said. He wasn't demanding, he was kind of pleading, so I gave him one. I wasn't in the mood to chat, so I leaned on the car while smoking, holding the keys in my hand in the jacket's pocket. If he decided to do something stupid, I still have to replace the pepper spray. He was silent while we smoked, and every so often glanced down the road. I was almost finished when he told me something that creeps me out to this day. Sorry if I was pushy about the cigarette, but I saw a man hiding near your passenger side and I didn't want to freak you out or call him out. There's something strange in him, and the last thing I wanted was to make him lash out. He went away when I talked to you. In that moment, I realized the only way for him to know about the bike was to have gone around the house in the back garden. And he did know about the lesson. How long had he been near the window before knocking? He waited for me for more than an hour. I didn't want to leave so soon after he left, so I lit another cigarette, all the while thanking the nice construction worker and offering him the meager remains of the packet. Turns out he doesn't even smoke, but he thought it was the only way to approach me without creeping me out, or being beaten with my books-loaded purse. He then drove behind me till we got to a turnaround. I checked, nobody was following. I was paranoid, blame me, and got home. Reported to the police the following day. I doubt anything would have happened. My car is old as balls, and only has a manual lock, so by the time he would have opened the door, I had all the time to get my ass out of there and cry bloody murder, but anyway. It was one of my many creepy encounters. A bit of background before I get into it. My name is Theron. I'm 24 and I live in a smallish city in Texas. This took place in October of last year, just a few days before Halloween. I was getting ready to leave work one night, and I was slightly excited because I actually had to walk home on this particular night. Why was I excited? Well, my car was in the shop, and while I was at work, I was thinking, I never walk. Why don't I ever walk anywhere? The prospect excited me, for some reason, and I settled on walking home. I only lived like 5 miles away anyways. I felt like I was embarking on an adventure. As I'm leaving, the co-worker who I had previously asked to give me a ride home comes up to me and asks if I'm ready. I politely tell her that I ended up pumping myself up for a rad walk home and that it's nice out anyways. It was. I thank her, walk out the doors, and as soon as that crisp October air hits me, I think, yes, I made the right decision. Halfway in, I started to full-heartedly regret this horrid, foolish decision. It's starting to get a little chilly, and I still have a decent chunk of walking left to do. It's about 11 p.m. at this point. Traffic seems fairly light, which started to somewhat unnerve me because now I'm thinking, fuck, I'm walking home alone at night. Anything can happen. Shit happened. Oh, did some shit happen, my friends. I'm approaching one of those bus stops that's lit up by ads, and I see a slight shadow being given off on the concrete. I'm not too weirded out, but I do wonder whether buses actually come through this late at night. I've never had to take one, so I genuinely wouldn't know. As I'm getting closer, I pause my music, and as I'm looking back up, I see whoever was in the bus stop walk over to the side of one of the ads and just stay there. I'm a cook, so I always carry a pocket knife for when I have to open boxes and such. So I decide to place it in my jacket pocket, just in case. What happened next was just so bizarre. I'm passing the bus stop, and As I'm passing, I turn to see this mystery person. Mystic. It was a rather tall, moderately thin old man, wearing somewhat decent clothing, all of which was black, with a black fedora-type hat. "Nice night, isn't it?" he says. "Yep," I continue walking. "Hey, hold on a minute." I turn around and he's now walking towards me. "Yeah?" Slightly annoyed, but more on edge because now I have to see what this horror of a man wants. Seriously, this dude looks like he stepped out of the movie Tombstone, like, what the fuck? Stopping about 5 feet in front of me, he asks, "You got a cigarette? I'll pay you." Unfortunately, I'm a smoker. So I say, "Sure, here, you don't need to pay me." I hand him the cigarette, and I fumble in my pocket for a brief moment, getting my lighter. I'm about to hand it to him when he instead leans in for me to light it for him. Fucking hate doing this. And of course, my lighter's taking forever to catch. All the while he's staring right at my face. Examining it almost. I tried not to stare back, but in all honesty, I was horrified. In the moment it took to light his cigarette, I noticed that this man had a wide, creepy mouth, kinda like Steven Tyler, and wild-looking eyes, as if he was picking up on my fear somehow. Now, I'm not a big guy by any means, so when I have to fight, I fight dirty. I say this because I felt uneasy. Like I wasn't just going to walk away from this and chalk it up as just a weird encounter never to be thought of again. No. I light a cigarette and begin to go on my way when he grabs my shoulder and says, "Wait, let me pay you." While he's reaching in his pocket, I'm already walking and say, "Nah, you're good." He hurriedly walks up behind me and forcibly yanks my arm, yelling, "Wait, let me pay you." I'm fucking floored at this point and my adrenaline kicks in, so I yank my arm away and push him as hard as I possibly can. He stumbles backwards and falls in an upright position. But in a move to right himself before he fell, he rips his hand out of his pocket, spilling its contents. Gold coins. I didn't care. I bolted. I was so freaked out that he could have had rubies in his pockets. It wouldn't have made a difference to me. I just wanted to get home already. And everything felt off about the situation. As I'm running, I hear a high-pitched, "Let me pay you." I ran all the rest of the way home, looking back every so often because screw that. I am writing this because of a particular person that gives me anxiety and flashbacks to one of the most horrific nights of my life. She, to this very day, tries to contact me on every type of social media and doesn't get the hint that I don't want her in my life. This person is my dad's ex-girlfriend. I'll call her Jessica for the rest of this story. Some background on her. She apparently was a friend of my dad's in high school and rekindled some sort of relationship between them. My parents are divorced, and at the time of this story, I wasn't allowed to contact my own mother for legal reasons. So, I was in my father's care. My dad is very emotionally abusive, and we never talked. Or so much did anything but scream and fight at each other. He wasn't Father of the Year, and would leave me at home for hours at a time. He also did this to his girlfriend, Jessica. Jessica wasn't the sweetest person either. She had this attitude about her that screamed, "I'm better than you," and that she was the hottest woman in the world, even though she looked plain. She would constantly start drama too with the other housewives in the neighborhood and gossip about them. Some days she was a nice person, but others, she's just as loathsome as my father. She and my dad would constantly fight over the way the other treated them. I didn't pay attention to it, but it would all eventually come to a boil. It was the week of my 16th birthday. My father was in California to deliver some person's horses for a horse show, so he couldn't be there. So I was left with Jessica, the dogs, and my bird. On Friday, the day he would be coming back, I was fiddling with one of the presents, and it was becoming late into the night. I was in my bedroom passing the time until I heard rustling noises coming from my dad's room, and then weird groaning, screaming noises. I was legitimately worried, because those noises were coming from Jessica, and I thought she had gotten hurt. What I didn't know, however, was that she had been drinking. She then started screaming like a fucking banshee, and I was afraid to go near that room, so I called out, "Hey, Jessica, are you all right in there? Do you need anything?" Apparently, that was an invitation for her to come running to me, so here I was, a defenseless girl, fending off against a 50-year-old woman. She started hitting me and trying to scratch me. I managed to grab her wrists and tried to get her to tell me why she was doing this. She looked at me dead in the face and with a low, cold voice growled, "I'm going to fucking kill you." I had enough. I pushed her off me and raced into my bedroom, locking the door. I didn't realize it at the time that I should have called the cops. But I just prayed for my father to get home, finally, as if God answered my prayers. I heard my father coming through the door. He must have felt the atmosphere in the air because he called out, "What the hell is going on?" I came rushing out in tears, telling him that it was Jessica, that she came out like a madman, slapping me and threatened to kill me. I was shaking and terrified. I screamed, "I want her out of this house." I was truly afraid. He just stormed past me and upstairs to their room. I don't remember much, but I assumed she tried to blame it on me, like I was the one who attacked her. All I could remember is that the cops weren't called, and we just went to bed. That, however, isn't the end of the story. The next morning, she came into my room as I was watching TV, asking for forgiveness, acting as if we had just had a girl spat, and her telling me she wanted to fucking kill me. I told her no, but Dad, of course, demanded I forgive her or else. So I did. Which would usher in the behavior of her doing horrible things to me and then act like it had been nothing. Obviously, she and my father broke up and went on their separate ways. She tried to keep in touch with me, and I was nice to her out of politeness. It wasn't until I was in my freshman year in college that she would start up again. I did have a Facebook at the time, but I never did anything about it because I absolutely hate Facebook. And it was my first few weeks of school. I was busy and barely checked it. When I did check it, I received a nasty, childish message from her. All because I didn't accept her friend request. She proceeded to tell me that I was just as nasty and immature as my father, that he and I used her as a slave, even though I was her bitching buddy as she complained about my father and all the other women in the neighborhood. Also, what struck a note was, she said that if it wasn't for her, that I wouldn't have been in college. Last time I checked, all she did was tell me the school's name. I myself did the rest. She even called me in the middle of my Drawing 1 class, just to bitch at me. So I proceeded to email her, telling her to never contact me again, and to never contact my dad again either. That I didn't appreciate her immaturity, and that I was only nice to her because of my father. Other than that, I never wanted anything to do with her. Since that message, for 2 years she tried contacting me on social media, acting as if nothing happened, and that we were good friends. Even emailing her again to leave me alone, and she said that I was being crazy. I had since got into contact with my biological mother and told her this. She just flipped and told me that if she contacted me again, she will threaten her with a lawsuit. Then one day, just a few weeks ago, I was on my YouTube and I got a message. I'm not a popular YouTuber, I just use it to watch videos. Lo and behold, it was her. All it said was, "Hello Lindsay, nice blue hair." Since my icon at the time was of when I had bright blue hair. I told her off and then called my mother in tears. She was fuming that this woman wouldn't leave me alone, and get the hint that I don't want to talk to her. All my mother told me was that she was going to settle this once and for all. Since then, I haven't gotten a message for weeks. But I know my mother didn't do anything illegal. Probably scared her off. So long, Jessica. I never want you in my life again.